How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
All right.
I wanted to ask you, how do you feel then about that the statistic that most black businesses fail within the first 5 years because lack of capital?
How do I feel about that statistic?
Yeah, because although I agree with you,
Hmm.
I don't feel like that. Dr. Amos Wilson talked about the possibility, just like you said, it depends on your consciousness.
Hmm.
And so he also said that if in our economy, if black businesses only get 5 cents on the dollar right now and it already amounts in the billions, picture if an influx of money came in.
Hmm.
And that's already without us even having the consciousness to put it into the right direction that it would help us. But I'm just asking you to get a different perspective because to the conversation.
Got you. Got you. Well, first of all, I appreciate the question. If I understand um, your question correctly, so how do I feel about most black businesses failing within the first 5 years due to a lack of capital? Um, I think that it highlights. This is a tough one, bro. This is a tough one because there's two parts to to this answer, right? So I think for me, I would want to take a step uh back. I would want to take a step back and have the conversation about capital, right? And have the conversation about resources and or disposable income, right? Now, I know that there are folks who argue this whole, about the spending power conversation. Dr. Jared Ball has been having that conversation a lot, um, about the 1.3 trillion being a myth, right? But we do know that that is something that report that they put out is not necessarily a report for the black community or a report to tell the black community that they have wealth. It's a report that they put out for marketers, right? For other communities who have businesses for how they can extract resources. Because why black people are a consuming power, we spend a lot. We keep other people's economies floating, right? So to answer the first part of your question, I would say that there is some resource and there is some capital within our community. The problem is the capital that we have is not organized. And I think that it takes a consciousness in order to organize that capital, right? They say there's a political statement, and I first heard this. I think it was like the Bernie Sanders campaign when they used to be sending out money or requests for money. They had a quote in there that said, "There's two types of power: there's organized money and there's organized people." And the thing that we know about politics and the thing that we know about movements is that if you organize the consciousness of the people, not only can you organize the people, you can organize their money. You understand what I'm saying? And I think that that is what we've been missing. So if you look at times during our history where you had bodies of black people that were moving as a collective and what they were able to achieve, their businesses didn't fail due to a lack of capital. Their businesses fell due to other assaults, often political assaults, often political sabotage, right? I mean, whether we ain't even got to talk about like the Rosewoods and things of that nature, but if you talk about like movements of people moving on one mind and having an economic agenda associated with that, so whether it be the UNIA, right? So it was called Marcus Garvey's UNIA and ACL, right? The UNIA was the fraternal part of the organization, United Negro Improvement Association, but the ACL was the African Communities League. That was the business component of their organization. And under that, you got the Negro factories. I mean, you got lots of different corporations and businesses. People like to talk about the failure of the Black Star Line, but there were plenty of successful businesses that they had. They were hiring lots of folks. In fact, if you read the scholarship, shit, Garvey was hiring more black folks in New York through the Negro factories corporations than these white businesses were. So I don't think that there's a lack of capital. I think that there's a lack of organization. And once again, using another Garvey quote, that disorganization is the greatest weapon used against the Negro. So it's about organizing what we do have. Like that's the issue. The issue is not whether we have 1.3 trillion. We know that we got a basket of goods. Is it 500 million? Is it 1 billion? Is it 2 trillion? We don't know what it is, but we know that we have a basket of goods, right? And it's the same thing as this whole spending power conversation is weird, right? Because okay, let's even look at the United States and the United States as a nation and their spending power. Much of the United States spending power is also funded via what? Via debt, right? Then the United States floats T-bills and other nations buy them, right? China owns a big percentage of our debt, but it allows us to continue to spend. Black America, its spending power is a reflection of our access to debt and other forms of capital. You understand what I'm saying? But it gets back again to how do we manage it? And that's again a level of economic maturity. So I think that we don't have the economic maturity and we don't have the political maturity. So we get stuck at the problem, not understanding that if the organization was in place, there are some solutions that we could use to address our problem. You understand what I'm saying? So